The first thing Elias Kade noticed about the station was how quiet it felt. Not silent. Machines still hummed. Lights still flickered, and footsteps still echoed. But quiet in a deeper way. No laughter, no raised voices. No small, useless sounds that humans made without thinking. Everything here felt controlled, measured, and careful, as if the station itself was afraid of feeling too much. Elias stood near one of the wide observation windows, looking out at the slow drift of stars. His reflection stared back at him faintly in the glass. Brown hair slightly messy no matter how often he tried to fix it. A simple uniform that marked him as a human liaison. Low rank, easily replaceable. He did not look like someone who belonged among the greatest minds of the galaxy. And yet, here he was. The interstellar Concord station floated at the center of known space, a place where dozens of species met to decide the future of entire worlds. Most humans imagined it as a place of wonder. Elias had imagined it too, once. Now he mostly felt tired. Around him, aliens moved with calm precision. Some walked on multiple limbs. Some floated, some glided without touching the floor at all. Their faces, if they had faces, showed little expression. Eyes watched, but they did not linger. Voices spoke, but they did not change tone. Emotion, Elias had learned, was considered inefficient. Humans were still new to the Concord. They were tolerated, studied, and quietly judged. Other species called humans unpredictable, emotionally unstable, too loud inside their own heads. Elias did not argue with that. He only wished they understood that humans did not choose to feel so much. They simply did. A soft chime echoed through the hall, signaling the start of the cultural symposium. Elias straightened and followed the others into the chamber. The room was wide and curved, designed so that no species stood higher than another. Light panels shifted color gently, adjusting to dozens of different visual needs. Elias took his place at a small desk meant for humans. It felt too small somehow, like the station itself expected him not to matter. Across the chamber, a figure caught his attention. She stood very still, taller than most. Her form, slender and elegant. Her skin was a pale silver blue, smooth, like polished stone. No hair, no visible ears. Her eyes were dark and reflective, like deep water. Her name, according to the briefing files, was Seren. She belonged to a species older than humanity by thousands of years, a species known for logic, stability, and emotional neutrality. Elias had read that their language did not even have words for love or hatred, only states of preference and efficiency. Sarian was watching the room with careful focus, not judging, measuring. The symposium began with presentations on trade, shared science, and biological compatibility. Elias listened, took notes, and tried not to yawn. Most of it sounded the same every time. Then Seren stood. The chamber quieted even further. Her species carried weight here. When they spoke, others listened. "I am presenting findings from a long-term internal study," Seren said. Her voice was smooth, perfectly even. "The subject concerns unexpected physiological responses." Several delegates shifted slightly. Elias leaned forward. "Our species removed involuntary emotional reactions long ago," Seren continued. "This is common knowledge. Our biology does not support sudden heart rate changes, neural spikes, or chemical fluctuations without external physical cause." She paused. "However, during recent interactions with one species, these responses have been observed."
A low ripple of interest moved through the room. "The human species," Saren said.
Elias felt his stomach tighten. Screens lit up with data, graphs, lines, patterns Elias did not fully understand, but he recognized one thing clearly. The chart showed movement, change, reaction. These responses do not occur with any other species, Saren said. Only humans. A delegate from a crystalline species spoke.
Clarify, are you suggesting contamination?
No.
Seren replied calmly.
There is no evidence of infection, chemical transfer, or biological damage. Another voice rose. Psychological projection?
Our species does not experience projection, Seren said. That function was removed. The room grew still. Elias felt suddenly very aware of his own body.
His breathing, the way his hands rested on the desk. The quiet beat of his heart, something he had never thought much about before. Seren looked at the data again. The reactions resemble what humans describe as emotional response. There it was, the word that made others uncomfortable. These reactions, Seren continued, include irregular heart rhythm, increased neural activity, and a sensation reported as internal warmth. Internal warmth, Elias swallowed. This should not be possible, Seren said, and yet it is repeatable. A murmur passed through the chamber. Some delegates leaned back, disturbed. Others leaned forward, curious. And you are certain it is limited to humans? A voice asked. Yes, Saren said. She lifted her gaze from the data, and then she looked straight at Elias. Not past him, not through him.
At him? Elias froze.
Something about the way she looked at him was different from the others. It was not curiosity in a scientific sense. It was focused, personal, as if, out of everyone in the room, he had become suddenly important. My heart reacts only to humans, Saren said. The words landed heavily in the quiet chamber. Several delegates dismissed it at once. Metaphorical language, one said. Imprecise translation, said another. But Saren did not correct them. She kept looking at Elias. For a brief moment, Elias felt exposed, like someone had opened a door inside him without asking. He had this strange urge to look away, but he didn't. Instead, he met her gaze. He did not know why. The symposium ended shortly after, the delegates leaving in orderly silence. Conversations were low, careful, controlled. Elias remained seated longer than necessary, his mind spinning. A reaction. Only humans! Only him! That was ridiculous, he told himself. He was no one special. A liaison chosen because he was patient and easy to replace. There were thousands of humans on the station. And yet, Elias Cade. He looked up. Seren stood beside his desk. Up close, she seemed even more unreal. Her eyes reflected light softly, not cold, not warm, just present. Yes? Elias said, standing quickly. I mean, Delegate Seren. You may call me Seren, she said. Formality is unnecessary here. He nodded, suddenly unsure what to do with his hands.
I would like to ask you questions, Seren said. About
the presentation.
Elias asked. About you, she replied.
That caught him off guard. Me? Yes, Saren said simply. Your reactions during the symposium were observable. Elias blinked. Observable how? Your breathing changed, Saren said.
Your heart rate increased. Your pupils expanded. He felt his face warm.
Sorry, I get nervous. Nervous? Saren repeated, tasting the word. Is that discomfort or anticipation? Elias thought for a moment. Both, I guess. She nodded, as if that answer mattered deeply. I wish to understand, Saren said. Not as data. As experience. Elias hesitated. Humans were used to being studied, measured, reduced to charts. But something about her tone felt different, less distant. I can try, he said. Serene's eyes softened slightly. It was a small change, almost invisible. But Iyalis noticed.
Good, she said, because when I look at you, my heart reacts.
And I do not know why. Elias did not have an answer. All he knew was that, for the first time since arriving on the station, the quiet did not feel so heavy. And somewhere deep inside, his own heart beat a little faster too. Elias did not sleep that night. The lights in his assigned quarters dimmed on schedule, and the station shifted into its artificial night cycle. But his mind refused to follow. He lay on the narrow bed, staring at the smooth metal ceiling, replaying the moment again and again. When I look at you, my heart reacts. The words did not sound dramatic. Seren had said them calmly, almost carefully, and yet they carried more weight than anything Elias had heard since coming to the station. He rolled onto his side and let out a slow breath. This was dangerous territory. Humans had already been warned not to encourage emotional dependency with other species. It created complications, expectations, unstable bonds. But he had not done anything. He had only existed. The next morning, the station felt different to him. Nothing had changed physically. Corridors were still clean and quiet. Aliens still moved with controlled grace. But Elias noticed things he had ignored before. How other species avoided eye contact with humans. How conversations ended faster when emotions crept in. How laughter from a human group drew glances that were not hostile, but uneasy. He wondered how long the galaxy had lived like this. Alive, but distant from itself. His communicator chimed softly as he reached the cultural archives. "Elias Kade," Seren's voice said. "Are you available?" His heart jumped. He hated that it did. "Yes," he replied, trying to sound normal. "I'm free." "Good," Seren said. "I would like to continue our discussion." Discussion. That was a safe word. Neutral. Scientific. They met in one of the shared observation gardens, a space designed to calm species with different needs. Soft light filtered through transparent panels. Artificial plants grew in quiet patterns. There was no wind, but the air felt lighter here. Seren stood near a pool of still water, watching the surface as if it held answers. "You chose this place," Elias said as he approached. "Yes," she replied. "It produces measurable calm in humans," he smiled slightly. "It does." She turned to face him.
You are calm now. Not entirely, he admitted.
"That is acceptable," Seren said. "I am not calm either." That surprised him. "You're not?" "No," she said. "My internal systems show continued irregularity when you are present." She said it plainly, but Elias felt the weight of it. "Is that bad?" "I do not know," Seren said. "That is why I requested your presence." They sat on a smooth bench near the pool. For a moment, neither spoke. Elias broke the silence. "You said you wanted to understand humans as experience. What does that mean to you?" Seren considered. "Data explains what happens," she said. "Experience explains why it matters." He nodded slowly.
Okay, then maybe start with a question. She looked at him closely.
"Why did your heart rate increase when I spoke?" Elias laughed quietly. "Because I was nervous." "Why were you nervous?" "Because you were talking about humans like we were different," he said. "And because you were looking at me?" Seren tilted her head slightly. "Being seen causes nervousness? Sometimes," Elias said. "It can also feel good." Or scary. Or both. "Multiple responses from one cause," Seren said. "That is inefficient." "Yeah," Elias agreed. Humans are great at inefficiency. Something strange happened then. Seren's lips curved upward, just slightly. Elias almost missed it. "That expression," Seren said.
What does it indicate? A smile, Elias said. Usually means amusement.
Or warmth. Her internal sensors spiked again. She noticed, I am experiencing internal warmth, Seren said quietly. Elias felt a strange mix of pride and worry. That's okay, I think. I am not certain, she said. My species associates internal instability with danger. Humans associate it with being alive, Elias replied. That made her pause. They spent hours talking about small things at first. Food, sleep, human music. Seren listened as Elias described songs that made people cry even when nothing sad was happening.
That seems counterproductive, Seren said.
It is, Elias said, and people love it. She asked about family. He told her about his mother, who sent messages too often, and his younger sister, who pretended not to miss him. When he asked about her family, Serene hesitated.
We do not form family units, she said. We are produced in regulated cycles.
Raced collectively. Did you ever feel close to anyone? Elias asked gently. I did not have the capacity to feel closeness, Seren said, until recently. He knew better than to assume what she meant. Still, the air between them felt charged, not in a loud way, but in a quiet, steady pull. Later that cycle, reports began spreading through the Concord. Other species had noticed changes. A scientific delegate from a highly logical species reported distraction during human conversations. A trade negotiator admitted to feeling regret after ending a partnership with a human colony. A medical observer confessed to curiosity that lingered long after human patients left. The phrase emotional resonance appeared in official logs. The Concord Council was not pleased. A closed session was called. Humans were not invited. Elias learned about it through Seren. They are discussing classification, she told him when they met again. Humans may be labeled as a destabilizing presence. That sounds bad, Elias said. It is not intended as punishment, Seren replied. It is framed as protection for everyone. Protection from what? He asked. From feeling, Seren said. The word hung heavy between them.
They're afraid, Elias said softly. Yes, Seren agreed.
And fear is an emotion. That realization unsettled her. He could see it in the way her posture shifted, the way her hands rested too still at her sides. What will they do? Elias asked. Possibly restrict human interaction, Seren said. Limit exposure, reduce influence. He looked down at the floor. He had expected something like this. Humans were always the variable others wanted to control. Do you think they're wrong? He asked. Serene did not answer right away. When I am with you, she said slowly, I experience confusion, curiosity, internal warmth. I also experience something new. What? Elias asked. Choice, Seren said. I choose to continue this interaction, even though it disrupts my systems. Elias looked up at her.
That sounds like what humans do every day, he said.
Yes, Seren replied. That is why I find it significant. In the days that followed, their meetings became more frequent. Not officially, not recorded. Just quiet conversations in shared spaces. Other species noticed, but did not interfere. Elias began to see changes in Seren, subtle, but real. She moved less rigidly. Her voice shifted in tone, just slightly, when she spoke to him. She asked questions that had no clear answers. What is hope? She asked once. Believing something good can happen, Elias said, even when you don't know for sure. And if it does not? She asked. Then it hurts, he said honestly. But humans keep hoping anyway. Serene was silent for a long time after that. One cycle as they walked along a quiet corridor. She stopped suddenly.
My heart is reacting again, she said. Elias felt his chest tighten.
Is it worse? No, Saren said. It is different.
She looked at him, really looked at him, as if trying to memorize the way his face changed when he felt something. I am beginning to distinguish patterns, she said. My reactions are stronger with you than with other humans. He swallowed. Saren, I know this is not logical, she said quickly. But it is consistent. Consistent doesn't mean safe, Elias said gently. Humans value safety less than truth, Saren replied. He could not argue with that. That night, the Concord issued a preliminary notice. Human emotional influence was officially under review. Elias stood by the observation window again, watching the stars drift past. The quiet felt heavier now, pressing in on him. Saren joined him without speaking. Whatever happens, Elias said, I don't regret this. Saren's heart reacted sharply at those words. I do not regret it either, she said, even if the Concord decides we should never have met. They stood together in silence, two beings from very different worlds, connected by something the galaxy had tried to forget. And for the first time, the Concord truly felt afraid, not of humans, but of what humans? The notice from the Concord spread quietly, the way all serious things did on the station. No alarms. No announcements spoken aloud. Just updated access permissions, new advisories in official channels, and subtle changes in behavior. Humans began receiving polite reminders about interaction limits. Aliens who once lingered in conversation now stepped away sooner. Smiles, rare as they already were, disappeared completely. Elias felt it everywhere. He felt it when a trade delegate cut a discussion short the moment Elias laughed. He felt it when a research group asked him to submit questions in writing instead of speaking in person. He felt it when doors that once opened automatically now paused, as if the station itself hesitated. Human emotional influence under review. The words echoed in his head as he walked the long corridor toward the archives. He tried to tell himself it was temporary, a study, an evaluation. That was how the Concord worked. But humans had been studied before, and it never ended simply. Saren met him later that cycle in a quiet transit alcove. Her posture was composed, but Elias had learned to see the small signs now. The way her hands were folded too tightly. The way her gaze fixed on a point just past his shoulder before meeting his eyes. They have begun formal discussion, she said.
About restrictions? Elias asked. Yes, Saren replied.
Some delegates are proposing controlled separation from other species, he said. From each other, she corrected.
Elias felt a hollow ache form in his chest. You mean...
No more humans mixing with the rest of the station. Limited contact, Saren said. Supervised environments only. Emotional dampening protocols. Dampening, Elias repeated quietly. That sounds like punishment. It is described as balance, Saren said. They believe humans disrupt stability. He exhaled slowly. We've been told that before. Saren looked at him more closely. You sound tired. I am, Elias said. Not just from this, from always being the problem. Her internal sensors reacted again, sharp and sudden. She placed a hand lightly against her chest, as if steadying herself. That reaction occurs when you express resignation, she said. I do not like it. He offered a small smile. Welcome to human emotions. They walked together toward the observation gardens, though they both knew such shared spaces were now being monitored more carefully. Elias did not care. If they were going to be separated, he wanted to spend what time he could with her. The garden was quieter than usual, fewer beings, more distance between those who remained. Sareen sat beside him, closer than protocol allowed. Elias, she said after a long pause, there is something I have not disclosed. He turned to her. What is it? My testimony during the symposium was incomplete. Saren said. I limited the data presented. Why? He asked. Because full disclosure would have increased fear, she replied. And because it involved you. Elias stiffened slightly. Involved me how? Saran met his eyes. The strongest reaction my heart has ever recorded occurred when you expressed concern for me, not yourself. He blinked. That doesn't make sense. It does, Saren said. Your species prioritizes others even when it creates personal cost. That behavior amplifies my responses. Elias looked away, suddenly unsure. I wasn't trying to do anything special. That is precisely the point, Saren said. You did not intend to influence. You simply cared. The word hung between them.
Care. The Concord feared that word more than chaos.
Saren, Elias said carefully. If this continues, they might isolate you too. I am aware, she replied. Some within my species already question my objectivity. And, he asked.
And I question their certainty, she said. That was a dangerous statement.
Elias knew it. Questioning certainty was the first step toward change, and change was what the Concord resisted most. Later that cycle, Saren was summoned to a closed session of her species council. Elias was not permitted to attend, but he waited anyway, sitting near the corridor where the chamber door stood. Hours passed. Other delegates came and went, but Saren did not emerge. Elias felt a familiar knot of worry twist tighter with every passing minute. Humans were good at that too, imagining the worst, even without evidence. When Saren finally appeared, her movements were slower. They have requested my withdrawal from human research, she said quietly. What? Elias stood. Can they do that? They believe my reactions compromise neutrality, Saren said. They wish to reassign me. To where? He asked. Anywhere away from humans, she replied. Elias felt a surge of helpless anger. That's not fair. Fairness is not a conquered metric, Saren said. Efficiency is. He clenched his hands. So that's it? They separate us and pretend the problem is solved? They believe emotional resonance will fade with distance, Saran said. And do you? Elias asked. She hesitated. No, she said. They walked in silence for a while. The station lights dimmed slightly, shifting toward artificial night. The stars beyond the windows looked cold and far away. Saren, Elias said finally, you don't owe humans anything. If staying away keeps you safe, I am not afraid of discomfort. Saren interrupted.
I am afraid of forgetting. He looked at her. Before meeting you, she continued, existence was clear and stable.
Now it is uncertain, but it feels expanded. Expanded. Humans would have called that growth. There is something else, Saren said. Ancient records were accessed during the council session. What kind of records? Elias asked. Pre-conquered archives, she replied. From before, emotional suppression was universal. Elias raised an eyebrow. You mean the galaxy used to feel? Yes, Saren said, strongly. She explained that early civilizations had once shared art, stories, and bonds not unlike humanity's, but emotional conflict had caused suffering, wars of belief, pain that logic could not solve. So they chose numbness. They removed volatility, thinking it would bring peace. It did bring stability, Saren said, but it also brought stagnation. Humans argue about that all the time. Whether safety is worth the cost. And, Saren asked. We never agree, he said, but we keep choosing feeling anyway. That night, the Concord Council issued another update. Human interaction zones would be reduced, effective immediately. Elias read the notice alone in his quarters. His hands shook slightly. He thought of other humans on the station. Scientists, workers, families, all quietly learning. They were too much. His communicator chimed. "Seren, I have made a decision," her message said. "May I see you?" They met near the outer ring of the station, where observation decks were rarely used. The stars felt closer there, the silence deeper. Seren faced him, posture steady despite the internal storm Elias knew must be raging inside her.
"I have refused reassignment," she said. Elias stared at her.
"Seren, I know the consequences," she continued. "My access will be limited." Mai, standing, questioned. "Why would you do that?" he asked softly. "Because separation would be a denial of data," Seren said. "And because I do not wish to return to what I was." He felt a lump rise in his throat. "You don't have to sacrifice everything." "I am not sacrificing," she said. "I am choosing." That word again. Choice. The same one she had said frightened her. The station lights flickered slightly as systems adjusted to new protocols. Somewhere far away, decisions were being finalized without them. Elias took a careful step closer. "Whatever happens next, I don't want to be the reason you're punished. You are the catalyst." Her heart reacted strongly then, faster than ever before. "So is mine," Elias admitted. They stood together, knowing the Concord was closing in on a decision that could change everything. Not with weapons. Not with force, but with fear of feeling. And in that quiet moment, Elias realized something important. Humanity had not joined the galaxy to conquer it. They had joined to remind it. And the galaxy was not ready. But it was already changing. The station entered a state of careful order after that. Not panic. Not chaos. Just quiet control. Human access was reduced further. Corridors, once shared, now had invisible boundaries. Schedules were adjusted so humans and non-humans crossed paths less often. It was done politely, with official language and calm explanations. Elias felt smaller every day. He still reported to his duties, but his role had shifted. Less speaking, more observing. He was no longer a bridge. He was a variable to be managed. Serene's situation was worse. Her access to research systems had been restricted. Requests for meetings were delayed or denied. Her presence was noted more often, watched more closely, and yet she did not withdraw. They continued to meet when they could, choosing places that were overlooked or ignored, empty observation decks, storage corridors that no one visited, corners of the station not considered important enough to monitor closely. In those quiet spaces, they talked. Not about policy or science, about what it meant to feel. "Humans say feelings make them weak," Seren said once, standing beside Elias as stars drifted past the window. "But your species survives impossible conditions." Elias shrugged. "We don't survive because we feel. We survive because we don't stop, even when it hurts." "That seems inefficient," Seren said. "Yeah," he replied. "But it works." She was quieter than usual that day. Elias noticed the way her gaze lingered on small details, the reflection of light.
The sound of his breathing. "My heart reactions have changed," Seren said finally.
"Changed how?" Elias asked. "They are no longer sudden," she said. "They are steady." That worried him more than spikes would have. "Is that bad?" he asked. "I do not know," Seren said. "But it feels less like disruption and more like alignment." Alignment. The word stayed with him long after they parted. The Concord Council announced a final session. A vote. The decision would determine humanity's role in the galaxy going forward. Elias was allowed to attend, but only as an observer. No speaking, no testimony. Saren was allowed to attend because her species demanded representation, but her position was already weakened. The chamber was full. Every seat occupied, every presence controlled. The air felt heavy with restraint. The council speaker began with calm efficiency. "We are here to finalize classification regarding the human species." Elias sat still, hands folded, heart pounding. Evidence suggests that human emotional presence induces measurable instability across multiple species, the speaker continued. While no physical harm has occurred, long-term effects are unknown. A delegate spoke.
Instability leads to error. Error leads to collapse.
Another added, "We chose control to survive." Elias wanted to stand, to argue, to tell them they were wrong. He did not. Seren did. She rose slowly, deliberately. "I request permission to speak," she said. The chamber hesitated. Permission was granted. "My species was among the first to remove emotional volatility," Seren said. "We believed it would protect us from suffering." She paused.
It did.
But it also removed wonder, curiosity, without fear. Murmurs spread. Murmurs spread. "The human species does not create emotion," Seren continued. "They reveal it," a delegate interrupted.
That is precisely the problem.
"No," Seren said calmly.
That is precisely the solution.
Elias felt his chest tighten.
Before humans, Saren said, we existed. After humans, we experience.
The speaker responded, "Experience is not inherently beneficial. It is not inherently dangerous either," Saren replied.
"Fear of feeling is not logic. It is avoidance." Silence followed. Seren turned slightly, her gaze passing over the chamber before resting just briefly on Elias. "When I met Elias Cady," she said, "I experienced internal warmth for the first time. Not chaos, not loss of control."
What did you experience?
The speaker asked. Seren answered honestly. "Meaning?" That word shook the room. Meaning was not part of Concord vocabulary. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Seren continued.
If humans are isolated, the Concord will remain stable, but it will also remain stagnant.
The question before us is not whether humans are dangerous. She paused. The question is whether we are brave enough to feel again. The speaker did not respond immediately. The vote proceeded. Elias watched the indicators light up one by one. Neutral expressions, controlled movements. The result was not what he expected. Humans would not be isolated. Instead, they would be reclassified, not as destabilizing threats, but as emotional catalysts. The chamber reacted sharply. Debate erupted, not loud, but intense. The speaker raised a hand. "Order. Humans will not govern," the speaker said.
They will not lead. They will not impose.
Elias barely breathed.
They will accompany, the speaker continued, as optional partners in cultural, diplomatic, and exploratory contexts. Seren closed her eyes briefly.
Elias felt tears sting his eyes and hated himself for it. The decision was not perfect. Restrictions remained. Fear did not vanish. But it was not rejection. After the session, Elias found Seren near the exit corridor. "You did that," he said softly. "I did not," Seren replied. "You did." He shook his head. "I didn't speak. You existed," she said. That was enough. They walked together toward the outer ring, no longer hiding. Some delegates watched them pass, some with caution, some with curiosity. None stopped them. Seren paused near the window, looking out at the stars. "I am still afraid," she admitted. "Me too," Elias said.
But I would choose this fear over emptiness, she said. He smiled.
Most humans would. She turned to him. "What happens now?" "We keep going," Elias said.
We feel, we mess up.
"We learn." Seren considered this. That sounds.
Human. It is, he said.
Her heart reacted again. Not sharply, not suddenly, steadily. She placed her hand over her chest, then lowered it. I believe, she said slowly, that my species removed emotion too early. Elias looked at her, at the alien who had chosen uncertainty over safety. Welcome back, he said. The station lights dimmed into artificial night. For the first time, the quiet did not feel empty. It felt like possibility. The days after the decision felt strange to everyone on the station. Nothing dramatic happened, no celebrations, no alarms. Life continued as it always had, but something subtle had shifted. Like a door left slightly open where it had once been sealed shut. Humans were still watched, still managed, still treated carefully. But now, they were also invited. Not everywhere, not always, but enough to matter. Elias felt the change first in small moments. A non-human delegate who did not immediately end a conversation when Elias smiled. A scientist who paused to ask how a human felt about a discovery, not just what they thought. A quiet laugh shared in a hallway, quickly cut short, but real. The galaxy had not learned to feel yet, but it had started to remember. Seren's life changed more than Elias's. Her species did not punish her, but they did not praise her either. She was reassigned to a new role, one without clear definition. She was now listed as a cross-species observer, a role created specifically because of her. She did not mind. She spent more time with Elias now, openly. No longer hiding in forgotten corridors. They met in shared spaces, gardens, observation decks. Sometimes others joined them. Sometimes they did not. Seren watched everything with careful attention. Not just Elias, but the station itself. The way conversations lingered longer around humans. The way some species returned again and again, as if drawn by something they did not yet understand. My heart no longer reacts only to you, Seren said, one cycle as they stood near the wide observation window. Elias felt a small, unexpected sting.
Oh,
She noticed immediately.
that response was not my intention. He laughed softly.
It's okay. Humans are bad at sharing emotional territory. Seren tilted her head. It reacts to others now, but differently. Different how? Elias asked. With you, she said. It feels familiar. With others, it feels new, unstable, curious.
He considered that. That sounds like trust.
Yes, Seren said. I believe it is. They fell into a comfortable silence. The stars beyond the window moved slowly, uncaring and endless. I have a question, Seren said. Only one? Elias replied with a smile. She almost smiled back. Humans know emotions can cause pain, she said.
Yet you continue to feel deeply. Why? Elias thought for a long time before answering.
Because the alternative is worse, he said. Feeling nothing means nothing matters.
Pain hurts, yeah, but it also means something was important.
Seren processed that quietly. Importance, she said. That concept appears often in human communication. It's kind of our thing, Elias said. The Concord began small programs soon after, voluntary, optional, carefully monitored. Humans paired with non-human diplomats, scientists, and explorers. Not to lead, not to command, to accompany. Some partnerships failed quickly. Emotions were confusing, overwhelming. Some species withdrew, deciding it was not for them. Others stayed. They stayed because they felt something they had not felt before. Curiosity without purpose, joy without reason, sadness that did not demand correction. Human music spread through the station, not loudly, not forced, just quietly shared. Stories followed, personal ones, imperfect ones. Seren attended a human gathering for the first time. It was informal. too many people in a small space. Laughter overlapping. Someone burned food and apologized too much. Sorensen's internal systems reacted strongly, not in alarm, in recognition. Elias watched her carefully. "You okay?" "I am overwhelmed," she admitted, "but I do not wish to leave." He nodded. That's a very human response. Later, when the gathering ended, Saren remained still, processing. "I felt sadness when it ended," she said quietly.
That means you liked it, Elias replied. That seems unfair, she said.
"Yeah," he agreed. "Feelings usually are." Time passed. Weeks. Cycles. Small changes accumulated. The conquered did not fall. Order did not collapse. There were mistakes, yes. Emotional misunderstandings. Awkward moments. But there was also growth. Species began asking questions no data could answer. Why does beauty matter? Why does loss hurt even when it is expected? Why does sharing silence feel different from being alone? Serain continued to study these questions, not as problems, but as experiences, and Elias continued to be human.
One quiet cycle, Saren asked Elias to walk with her along the outer ring.
The lights were low, the station in rest mode. "There is something I need to tell you," Saren said. Elias felt his heart speed up. He did not know why, but he did not stop walking.
My species has begun internal debate, Saren said. Some believe emotional reintroduction should be explored. That's huge, Elias said.
"Yes," she replied, "and frightening. Change usually is," he said. She stopped walking and turned to face him.
They asked me what convinced me,
Seren said.
And?
Elias asked softly.
I told them the truth, she said. That a human looked at me not as a system, not as data,
but as someone who mattered. Elias swallowed. "That human," Seren continued, "was you." He searched her face, unsure what to say. "I am aware this creates complexity," she said. "Expectation, attachment."
Those aren't bad words, Elias said. They are not neutral either, Seren replied.
"Nothing worth keeping is," he said. Her heart reacted then. One last time, but not in shock, not in confusion. In calm certainty, she placed her hand over her chest and did not remove it. "I believe," Seren said, "that what I feel for you is not merely resonance." Elias's voice was quiet. "What do you think it is?" She considered carefully. "Connection. Chosen." He smiled, warmth spreading through him.
"Yeah," he said. "That sounds right."
They stood together, watching the stars drift past. The galaxy had not become human. It never would. But it had learned something from humanity. That feeling was not a flaw. That vulnerability was not failure. That hearts, no matter their origin, did not react to efficiency. They reacted to meaning, and for the first time in a very long time, the universe felt a little less empty.